Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, I am so incredibly thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at what has to be one of the most baffling historical anomalies ever documented. We're talking about the ancient Maya. Now, you already know them for their towering pyramids and mind-blowing mathematics, right? But hidden within that massive legacy is a giant puzzle that puts mainstream science directly at odds with some, well, pretty out-of-the-box theories. We're diving into ancient astronomy, a massive extinction event, and get this, depictions of creatures that literally should not exist anywhere in human history. Seriously, why on earth would an ancient civilization be carving extinct dinosaurs into their sacred temples?
So let's dive right into this. How exactly did the ancient Maya know about dinosaurs? It sounds crazy, but in the Mayan area, specifically looking at ruins like Bonampak, we see these completely bizarre artistic depictions of dinosaurs and even pterosaurs. It is a massive anomaly. Mainstream science tells us for a fact that humanity and dinosaurs never crossed paths, period. So finding extinct creatures carved right into stone by an ancient civilization, it raises some huge questions about what the Maya were actually looking at, or maybe who they were talking to learn this forgotten history.
Just to put the sheer scale of this mystery into perspective, look at the mainstream scientific timeline for a second. The dinosaurs wiped out 65 million years ago. The Mayan civilization, they flourished way, way later, between 250 and 900 AD. I mean, that is an impossible temporal paradox. We're talking about a gap of tens of millions of years between these two eras. If the mainstream timeline is 100% correct, there's just no way the Maya could have possibly known what a dinosaur even looked like. So how do we explain this impossible knowledge?
Section 1. Kings or ancient astronauts?
Well, to try and bridge this gigantic gap in time and knowledge, ancient astronaut theorists start by looking at the very origins of the Mayan gods. Back in 1969, author Eric von Daniken visited the ancient city of Chichen Itza and came up with a pretty fascinating hypothesis. You see, the ancient Maya worshipped a primary deity named Kukulkan, who they specifically described as a flying serpent. And if you check out the central pyramid there, El Castillo, it actually puts on this intricate light show during the equinoxes. Triangles of light and shadow slowly inch down the platforms, making it look exactly like a huge serpent is descending. Theorists look at that and say, hey, this isn't just some clever architectural trick. This is a literal record of an extraterrestrial visitor, a literal flying snake coming down from the sky, who supposedly left with a promise to return.
You know, it's actually fascinating how the exact same historical artifact can act like a giant Rorschach test, depending entirely on who's looking at it. Take the famous sarcophagus lid of Lord Pakal, which they found in Palenque. On the one hand, traditional archaeologists look at this and see a highly decorated depiction of a Mayan king. Makes sense. But ancient alien theorists like von Däniken, they look at this and see a man sitting in a rocket capsule. Notice how the figure is leaning forward, almost like a guy on a motorcycle, wearing what totally looks like an oxygen mask on his nose, with his hands actively manipulating control knobs and levers. To them, we're not looking at a king at all. We're looking at an ancient astronaut flying back to the stars.
And that brings us to the core thesis of the ancient astronaut theory, which Giorgio A. Tsoukallos summed up perfectly. He said, our ancestors thought they were gods because they didn't understand the nuts and bolts aspects behind those visits. The whole argument here is that the ancient Maya were visited by highly advanced beings, but because they didn't have the scientific vocabulary to describe spacecraft or high-tech gear, they just called it magic and called the beings gods. Theorists argue that Mayan priests were basically in direct contact with extraterrestrials, and that contact is what gave them access to Earth's deep, forgotten history.
Section 2. Decoding the hieroglyphs.
72. That is the exact number of steps on the incredible hieroglyphic stairway located in the ruins of Copan. Built way back in the early 700s AD, this massive public monument is made up of over 2,000 carved stones. It was essentially designed to write out the entire history of Copan, chronicling the bloodlines of their kings. But the really important part? This was the ultimate tool the Maya used to establish their divine right to rule. They were laying out a direct documented connection to these supposed gods, the exact same beings who might have shared the secrets of those ancient dinosaurs in the first place. Now, for centuries, this elaborate code was a complete mystery, totally undecipherable. But in 1880, a brilliant mathematician named Ernst Forstemann finally cracked it. We now know the system relies heavily on logographs. These are pictographs that stand for entire words, like drawing a jaguar head to represent the word Balaam. And they actually combine those with syllabograms, which represent distinct sounds.
It is a highly sophisticated system of calligraphy, and it gave the Mayan elite a permanent way to document their interactions with these powerful, otherworldly visitors.
Section 3. Masters of Cosmic Time.
But it wasn't just their written language that made the Maya so unique. It was their absolutely unparalleled grasp of the cosmos. Think about this. While Europeans were literally struggling through the Dark Ages, the Maya were busy building massive celestial observatories. They figured out that if the Pleiades star cluster rises on March 15th one year, it takes exactly 72 years for that rising to shift earlier by just one single day. To track the full completion and reset of that entire cycle, that takes 26,000 years. And they were tracking this deep time entirely with the naked eye. It's this mind-boggling obsession with tracking vast scales of time that theorists think hints at how they could have understood an era millions of years in the past. And all of this brilliant astronomical tracking culminates in the famous Mayan long count calendar. This specific cycle spans exactly 5,125 years, and as we all remember, ended on December 21st, 2012. But why that date? Because on that exact day, the Earth, the Sun, and the center of the Milky Way galaxy's Great Rift were in perfect alignment, an event that literally only happens every 26,000 years. Theorists argue there's simply no way this hyper-advanced understanding of galactic physics was figured out by the Maya all on their own. The Maya themselves claimed this knowledge was a gift from the gods, a cosmic perspective that maybe, just maybe, unlocked their awareness of prehistoric Earth and the dinosaurs. Section 4. The Yucatan Asteroid Cataclysm. 100 million megatons of TNT. That is the explosive force unleashed 65 million years ago when an asteroid weighing in at 8 to 10 miles wide slammed into planet Earth at an unbelievable 12 miles per second. And where exactly did it hit? Right in the region we now know as the Yucatan Peninsula. This incomprehensible impact fundamentally altered the topography and the climate of our planet. And, according to mainstream science, it completely ended the reign of the dinosaurs. So, according to the mainstream consensus, this impact triggered a very specific step-by-step extinction model. Scientist David Morrison lays it out really clearly. Step 1, the asteroid hits the Yucatan, carving out a massive crater and launching millions of tons of debris up into the atmosphere. Step 2, all that debris creates a thick shroud of black dust that completely blocks out the sun, plunging the whole planet into absolute darkness. Step 3, without any sunlight, photosynthetic plants die off. And finally, step 4, the entire food chain collapses. The plant-eating dinosaurs starve to death, and pretty soon after, the meat-eaters have nothing left to hunt, wiping them out entirely.
Section 5. Surviving the Extinction.
Okay, let's bring this whole mystery full circle. As author Philip Coppens points out, the geography here is highly suspicious. Think about it. Out of all the possible places around the Gulf of Mexico where the ancient Maya could have built their civilization, they chose to settle directly in the crater zone of the most devastating impact in Earth's history. The exact precise spot where something literally fell from the sky millions of years ago happens to be the exact same spot where the Maya claimed their gods fell from the sky to make contact with them. I mean, wow. Seriously, just consider the staggering proximity here. Chichen Itza, the home of the El Castillo Pyramid and the alleged site of this alien contact, is located less than 90 miles from the epicenter of that extinction-level asteroid strike. Think about the sheer odds of that geographical overlap. The exact epicenter of where the dinosaurs were supposedly wiped out is virtually identical to where the Maya later claimed to have interacted with these otherworldly deities. So how do ancient astronaut theorists string all these pieces together to answer our core question? Why the dinosaur carvings? Well, they conclude that the Yucatan Impact Zone basically acted as a massive geological beacon for extraterrestrials. They propose that the extinction wasn't actually absolute, that maybe some isolated dinosaur species managed to survive the cataclysm deep in the remote jungles. So, when these alien gods arrived, the Maya witnessed them interacting with living, breathing, prehistoric creatures, and using their highly advanced hieroglyphics and their deep obsession with recording history, the Maya just faithfully documented exactly what they saw in stone, leaving us with the ultimate historical anomaly. Which leaves us with a pretty profound final question. If mainstream science is absolute and humans and dinosaurs were definitively separated by 65 million years, what truly inspired the Maya to carve these extinct creatures into stone right alongside their gods? Were they just purely imaginary creatures that coincidentally happened to look exactly like dinosaurs? Or did the master timekeepers of the ancient world actually witness something impossible, guided by visitors from the stars?
It's the kind of mystery that totally challenges the boundaries of human history, and it definitely makes you want to look at those ancient ruins just a little bit closer. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep questioning the past.